Hello, I'm here at one of my favourite gardens in my area of South Yorkshire at Brodsworth Hall, and I just want to do a video on, well, mainly on the roses, but I'm starting off in, I think this is kind of the jewel garden, or it's recently been refurbished, and it's absolutely amazing. Did I say that it's the June the 12th, 2021? So this is kind of the target range for the house. The lovely little target house there. Just a bit of information. This is English Heritage Site. Just a few of the plants there that are in this part of the garden. And some are just going over, some are just coming out. But yeah, I want to go into the rose garden. Some lovely foxgloves there. Irises are just going over, still providing a lovely splash of white. And I'm a little bit early for the roses. It's peak time for roses is really the end of June. Pretty much the end of June, early July. But if we could, as we come past the target house, pause that if you want to read some information on that. There are a few roses out, and I want to highlight a couple that I think are absolutely fantastic. Now, these roses are the traditional roses that were here. They're not the same roses, but they're the replanting of the traditional roses that were planted in Victorian times when the house was built. I think the house was built about 1830 something. So it's from kind of the middle of the 19th century, probably to the late Victorian era, the turn of the 20th century. So these are newer, pretty new versions. A lot of them were planted last year, but they've generally over time replaced the ones that have kind of got old and didn't flower so much. So you've got the proper old the proper old varieties that some only flower once, most only flower once, but there are still features in some of these plants that you might want to grow them just because those features are so good. And I just want to highlight a couple, and again they have, on some of them they have the names, but I don't know, some of the labels have come off, so I'm not going to go down and try and find out what the names are. But this, as a shrub rose, is absolutely beautiful. The petals on that are just like a carnation. It's so frilly. It's like, well, it's what I would call a carnation rose. And the scent is just, I'm not good at describing scents, but that's just to me it's an old-fashioned rose scent, a proper rose scent. It's spicy, just to absolutely die for. And it seems like you get maybe one or two roses coming out, and then there are plenty of other buds around that will carry on flowering throughout June and probably July, depending on what the weather's like. Massive buds there. Just look at that. Lovely little carnation pink. Pink in the centre, fading to white on the outer petals. So far, June has been great. It's been warm, sunny after a wet and cold May. Despite it being cold, you've at least got a lot of moisture in the ground. So now we've got June. There's been virtually no rain in June. So the flowers are looking absolutely fantastic. A big negative of some of these old varieties is you get rain, you get too much rain, and sometimes the buds just don't open, sometimes the flowers just drop off, the petals go brown and drop off. Sometimes you can understand why new varieties have outdone the kind of older varieties, but when you get something that is as beautiful as that, with a lovely scent, and the foliage looks pretty healthy so far. I mean, it's early in the season, so the time to suss out whether a rose has got black spot is kind of August, September time. See how bad it is. We've got another one here. Oh, lovely again. If you want something dark and musky, I just like how the flower opens up with these lovely little buds at the side. So it's not just the flower that's impactful, it's the flower with the buds that are just about to open. And there are more buds on that. So there is a length of flowering with some of these over a number of weeks, but most are pretty limited. You won't get months and months of flowering like you do on some of the more modern versions. There's another one here. I've got a funny feeling this is called Blush Noisette. Now, I'm not sure about that, but that is so lovely. And it is scented. It's got small flowers. I've got the feeling that's just the rambler. It'll pretty much flower once and then that will be it. But it is absolutely delightful. But I've also seen this when the weather's not been so good and it don't look happy. So always be aware of that. Are you prepared to put up with a rose that maybe if the weather isn't ideal, maybe isn't going to look so good or do its best? Another one here. Oh, again, that smells more, less spicy. I don't know. I'm not good at describing scents. There's different scents again, but the one that really got my attention was over here. You see, there's still some work to do here. There's still some bare ground which they need to plant out. You can see, there's not much colour at the moment. It's not all come out, but this rose here, is this an old Gallica rose? I don't know. I've never really been into old roses, but when you look at that bud there, and again how the rose sits, and the buds, the way they've just cut that rose there, is just fantastic. That is just so wonderful. And again, the scent is just superb. That is worth growing as just a single, a rose that will maybe just flower once. The foliage is nice. It's a kind of almost bluey green colour, looks healthy. But loving that, those little hairs on those tiny little buds there. Tiny little buds. And there's 2 or 3 here, and it provides, and again, another week or two when these are out, and it's just going to be absolutely stunning. So that's another one, and then another one, the final one really, is this. Bigger flowers, again, lovely pale pink, fading to white, with these lovely buds that kind of provide a kind of rosette, almost like just setting the flower off and holding it in place almost. So again, if that happens, this rose isn't going to droop. It's not going to be a nodding rose to any great extent, because you've got these buds around it supporting it. Yeah, that's really light, and it's still spicy, but it's much lighter scent. just absolutely delightful. Foliage is not as nice as the other one, and there seems to be some kind of insect damage there, but again, we're early in the season, but kind of no black spot at the moment, or very little that I can see. But isn't that just a pretty little thing? Isn't that just absolutely fantastic? Just comes out a little bit darker and then fading to a shell pink with white on the edges, and then the older one almost pure white just before it drops. Now if those petals drop, which I think they might do, it's just white, and that's great, because again you're going to get a nice white carpet on the ground, which is always better than a kind of brown mush. But yeah, so I'm going to continue having a look round here now, the rose garden at Brodsworth Hall with these historic roses. But I just wanted to point out those few for you as well. You might be able to see just over there, that's a peony in flower. Yeah, I'll probably come back in a week or two's time and see what's out, maybe make another video depending on what's out and what the weather's been like, and try and make some judgment then. So from Brodsworth Hall Gardens, bye for now.